They were saying that there's no evidence for Adam and Eve, therefore it doesn't exist. And I'm saying, well, that's a dumb argument. Why do you expect that there's going to be evidence? I'm just saying that this is very similar to the virgin birth and the resurrection. I can completely agree that this is nothing like how Young Earth Creationism works as trying to look for positive evidence for these things. That's fine, but I'm not trying to integrate with Young Earth Creationist scientists. I'm trying to integrate with historical Christianity. I'm trying to integrate with mainstream science. And there, I've kind of solidly, demonstrated to people that it is good science. And he asks, how do I make sense of the fact that there's things that are demonstrated by science and not? Well, I'm really clear that there are clear scientific claims that are testable by making, but I'm also going beyond science, and I'm saying things that science doesn't tell us either. Where do I get merit and warrant from that? Well, from Scripture. This is very similar to what you would say to a person who says, well, I'm going to go try and find genetic evidence for the virgin birth. What would you tell them? You would wonder about if they understood the biology really well, right? You'd wonder if they really understood what the virgin birth was. There's like a category error. No one would really do that if they understood what the virgin birth was and that. You don't expect to see genetic evidence of the virgin birth. So it's not like it's a problem for the Apostles' Creed that there's no genetic evidence for the virgin birth. It's just not how it works. Same thing with the resurrection. Imagine an atheist came to you and says, I reject the resurrection because I see no genetic evidence of it. Okay. Look, I'm sympathetic to atheists. Let's be serious. This is a big deal. A person rose from the dead. That is on face value unbelievable. I believe it. I think there's evidence for it. There's a lot of good reasons to doubt it other than the fact that there's no evidence in the genetics for it, right? That's a dumb argument against the resurrection. That's what was going on, actually, with evolutionary creationists and atheist biologists. They were saying that there's no evidence for Adam and Eve, therefore it doesn't exist. And I'm saying, well, that's a dumb argument. Why do you expect that there's going to be evidence for it? It's a category error. It's like asking why there's no evidence for genetic evidence for the virgin birth. What we have is the testimony of Scripture. We trust that, and that's enough for us. And when it comes to Adam and Eve, I trust Scripture. I don't need scientific evidence when Scripture is clear. And I don't know, from what I understand of the biology, in the same way I don't expect genetic evidence from the virgin birth, I don't expect evidence from this. And Marcus isn't convinced that I'm okay with that. All of my colleagues, all of my non-Christian colleagues, and I would say the vast majority of Christian scholars that have interacted with this have no problem with what I just said. He mentions the genealogies, taking the genealogy serious, and I just want to point out that that works in this. He mentions the flood, and you're right, you've accurately described Young Earth Creationism, but my issue is I can't see anywhere in the Genesis text where it talks about a global flood. They didn't have, when Genesis, Dick Averbeck is a scholar here, and I would defer to him, but the term is not global. It says earth in English, but honestly, the term is eretz it's talking about. And it defines where eretz is, and it's not over the entire known world that they had it. So I think it's very hard to take a literal reading. If you care about a literal reading of Genesis, I don't know how you come to a global flood. This is one of those places where I think Young Earth Creationism makes more sense in historical context. Maybe you can make a scientific argument for it. I'm not convinced, but maybe you can. But I don't think Scripture teaches. It just can't. They didn't have a concept. They can't say something they didn't have a concept for. And so if you can show me where it talks about a global without appealing to an English translation, but actually what Scripture says, that'd be interesting because I've asked a lot of people and I haven't seen it. Another key piece of this too is Numbers 13:33. You see a post-flood appearance of the Nephilim too.